What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I hope everybody's having a good Saturday morning. So today I'm going to do a little bit of a different something. We're going to be talking about uh, cyber security, protecting yourself, protecting your investments, things that you need to do to make sure that things are in order. I'm going to go ahead and go say hi to some people, but then we're going to jump right into it. There's a lot of discussion. I have a special guest coming up here in about 15 minutes or so. But I want to just kind of go over a few items. And as more people come in, I do have an update that I want to share with some people. So I will be doing that here in just a second. So first off, let's go ahead and say hi to AZ Coins. AZ, thanks for coming in. Appreciate you being here. Malcolm, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. Mr. EMR, thanks for coming up. We'll see you here in a few minutes. Jackalope Herdmaster, as always, thank you for being a channel member. Thank you for your support. AZ Coins already said hi to you, but I'll say hi to you again. Why not, right? Um, all right, there's other people. It says there's more people in here, but I don't see you yet. So here's what I want to do. I want to go ahead and jump right into this. There's going to be a lot of people coming in. If I don't say hi to you at this first part of this, I apologize. Hey, Christopher Ty, good to see you. Um, but it's not about, hey, Doug Bullis, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Outstanding. So very nice to have you in. You came in. This is going to be a really good discussion. So, again, the reason that I want to do this is a little deviation from what I normally talk about, but it's extremely important, not only for protecting your investments, but these are just general good ideas and good pieces of information to have. So, what I want to do is I want to start off with a little question. And hey, Doug, just so you know, you have a chance to win some numismatic prizes here. So this is what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to bring something up really fast, and I am going to share my screen. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at the screen very carefully. Okay. Now, the first person to put the correct answer to the question that I pose in chat, now it's got to be in chat, is going to win. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to look at the flights from Alaska to Hawaii, and then Hawaii to Japan, and then Japan to Alaska. Okay, we're looking for the longest leg in miles. Okay, now I don't care how you do it. If you want to Google it, you can do that. But the first person who answers the question I pose in chat will win. Okay, so again, look at this map: Hawaii or Alaska to Hawaii, Hawaii to Japan, or Japan to Alaska, the longest leg. I'll pose the question here in just a moment, but I'm going to go ahead and begin. So go ahead, research it, look it up, but don't put the answer in chat until I pose the question. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So today we're going to be talking about ways of stacking, collecting, and things that have to be taken into consideration. Now, security is paramount. Okay. We all know this. If you're going to have gold and silver and numismatic value and things like that sitting around your home, you're going to want to make sure you have a safe, let alone your Second Amendment paraments. There's a lot of other things you want to do. If you're looking at, you live in an area that's torn by tornadoes or torn by hurricanes, you're going to want to have those kits. You're going to want to have that preparation. Well, what I'm talking about specifically today is in the realm of cyber, and it's in relation to something that recently happened. You can see the actors over here over my corner. Not going to mention the name. You can put it in chat, but I'm not going to mention the name personally. It's here. And there were a couple pieces of things that we looked at. We call them uncles and cousins. That's a good thing to call them, me. Good. Thanks for coming in, by the way. It's good to see you. Good morning, Paula. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, um, good news. Still more updates. Just messaged Paula this morning. Her granddaughter is doing a little bit better. Still in the emergency room, but she's responsive now. Um, Towards the end of this, I'll bring her up and she can talk a little bit more before we close off and get into the premiere train. But you all can't tell you how much I appreciate all the prayers that you've thrown out to her. We all love Paula. Paula is a major force in my channel. So again, I'm glad that your granddaughter's doing well. We love you a lot. And, again, the community is with you. All right. Yeah, I'm glad that she's doing better though. It scared the hell out of me when we were told that she was unresponsive. So, continued prayers for her, but just it's good to know that you're doing really well. All right, so we're going to go through and we're going to talk about some of the cyber attacks. Now, many of you know there was a multi-phased approach that China took. Oops, I shouldn't have said that. That the actor took on different pieces of infrastructure. Now they targeted Texas. They targeted the power grid. They looked at some of the information there. They looked at some areas in Hawaii and targeted some specifics. And people are like, "Oh my gosh, this is really important." And it really is, because if people don't understand the importance of this, we're at the cusp of war. Now, this stuff is really serious, but a lot of people are like, "Well, how does this affect me?" I mean, yeah, I mean, they're challenging this, but this happens all the time. Well, what I don't want people to fall into is I don't want people to fall into the idea that the cyber attack is solely on the major entities. Right? They're government actors or they're personal actors acting towards or against the government. Cyber attacks happen on an individual basis. And in fact, if you really look at the intent of cyber attacks the individual person. Now, they might know a little bit about you because of your social media platform. They might know a little bit about your situation because of stuff that you post online. And you might be the gateway to get into some of those bigger systems. So if you think that you're free and clear from being part of a cyber attack, you're fooling yourself. Everybody who utilizes one of these or utilizes a computer, right, is prone to being attacked. So there's a couple things that I want to talk about, and this is going to be the essentials of what I want to talk about today. All right, really quickly. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to the item. Now, I told you, okay, we're going to go through this again. We'll talk about this. Remember, that when we look at this, we're going to be looking at the distance in miles. And it doesn't matter if you talk about the ship or you talk about the plane or however, but what we were looking for is we were looking for the total distance, the longest leg between these three: Alaska to Hawaii, Hawaii to Japan, and then Japan to Alaska. Now, I'm going to put in chat the question. When the question's put in, not before, I want you to answer the question. Okay. So I'm going to type in the chat real quick. I'm going to close this really quickly. All right. So get ready, because the person who enters the answer to this correctly first is going to win something. This is how I'm going to be doing my giveaway. Okay. And it's going to be, um, let's do Let's do a bicentennial quarter and a silver dime. Okay, I think that'll be fun. All right, on the count of three. One, two, three. There's my question. Let's go ahead and put in the answer. Oh, don't forget, look at the question. What were the colors of my starting and ending streams? I've got blue, I've got green. The first person to get the correct answer wins. So look at the question. What was there? EMR, yeah, I got you taken care of. You're gonna be up here on panel here in a little while. I got something for you anyway. Blue and fire, green and blue. Paula wins. Congratulations, Paula. Okay. So that was a little bit of a misnomer. This was a kind of a deviation. But the reason that I did this is because this is exactly what happened within the actors of the cyber attack the other day. It's misleading. The question that I asked you all had you look into something that really wasn't what we were after all are looking at after all anyway. What I mean by that is I had you looking at something. I told you to look at the screen very carefully. So you look at the screen, okay, but then I told you there's going to be a prize. So obviously your intent goes from looking at the screen to looking at the items on the screen because you're really wanting to pay attention to what's going on, listening to the items so that you can hurry up and get the research and to get the information that you need. So I distracted you from looking at the very basic item, which was the background. And this is what's going on with these cyber attacks in China. And again, I said I wasn't going to say it, but screw it. Doesn't matter. You got the big old sun. What's up, Gold Sniping Farmer? Thanks for being a member. I definitely appreciate you. Thank you so much. Hey, Azure. Good to see you. Um, you ain't going to get your Tesla until I get mine. But again, when we're looking at these actors, when we're looking at what they're doing, what was the purpose of the cyber attack? Was it to test our system? Or was it to deviate us or our attention to looking at something other than what they wanted us to focus on? One of the things that you look at when you look at cyber attacks, now you got this when you get these telephone calls from these people saying, they that you won something or that you overpaid, or they're calling Microsoft and they come at you in a huff and they come at you in a hurry and they try to distract you and work on emotion. There's so many different ways to distract you to be looking at something other than what happens. And if you fall for it, or if you succumb to it, or if you leave your door open to it, then you become a victim of that cyber attack. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to leave it to Gold Sniping Farmer, predictive programming. Now, there are a lot of questions regarding AI in this as well, but there are a lot of questions regarding um, what the new type of warfare is going to be. So, anybody who thinks that the warfare that we're going to be conducting is going to be purely conventional, like in World War One, World War Two, uh, Korea, Vietnam, Gulf War, is absolutely mistaken. The new premise for war, the new premise for battling is going to be cyber. It's going to be through ones and zeros. Now, it's not going to say that there's not going to be actors that are going to have that other, but there are going to be some things. So let's go ahead and get into this and kind of talk about some of the things that you as a personal entity can do for yourself and or your business and or your channel and or for your family and kids to safeguard from doing some of these things. Now, many of you already know a lot of these answers, but here in just a few minutes, I'm going to invite a guest up to talk about something that happened recently. Now, many people know who he is, but a lot of you don't really know what happened in the realm that he works in. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I want to go over kind of just a few basic items because these are very, very important. Now, while I go over all of these items, I'm not going to be looking at chat. So just bear with me as we go through this. And again, Paula, congratulations on paying attention and uh, being able to identify what that was. Now, so when we look at some of the things that you can do to present yourself as a more secure entity, the number one thing you're going to want to do is whether you're on your phone, whether you're on your computer, whether you're talking about the apps on your telephone, whatever it is, the first thing you want to do is make sure that your software itself, like the iOS on this telephone, or your Windows system or Linux system or your Safari system, whatever it is, whatever entity that you're utilizing as your access point, you want to make sure that that software is up to date. Now, we saw it within our own community where ransomware, ransomware has been a big thing ever since about 2016, 2017. But businesses and individual consumers alike are being targeted by this, and one of the best ways that you can do that is making sure that software is up to date. You want to make sure that your system, the system itself, doesn't have any vulnerabilities. And that means allowing for things like automatic updates. Now, I know there's a lot of people who don't like to utilize automatic updates, but I'm telling you, it's the number one easiest way to prevent old items from being isolated and used against you. You're also going to want to make sure that your web browsers, whether you use Safari, Opera, Chrome, Edge, Firefox, doesn't matter which one that you utilize, you're going to want to make sure that you publish those updates and publish those updates frequently. Microsoft often puts off security patches. Apple does security patch updates. Make sure that those things are automatically updated. The other thing that's extremely important is if you have old obsolete programs. A great example of this is Adobe Flash. Adobe Flash has been outdated. It's obsolete since 2021. They're not supporting it anymore. But on some of your old systems, you may still have Adobe Flash on there. Now, because Adobe isn't updating the information anymore, and because they're not updating the information and not supporting it, you may have an old system. That old system has vulnerabilities in it. And by not updating that or removing that or utilizing the new versions of items that are being released by Adobe to cover for that flash, you may inadvertently set yourself up for some vulnerabilities. Some of the most important ones that the average person uses, and we utilize these within the hobby, Dropbox is one that you definitely want to worry about. You're going to want to look at PowerShell and, of course, our YouTube apps, right? You're going to want to make sure that the YouTube apps and things like that get updated because, I mean, hey, if you're running a channel, you want to make sure that your studio and things like that don't have any vulnerabilities because you definitely don't want somebody taking over your channel. Another one, and this is something that we've been talking about for years and years and years, is use antivirus or protection software, or I should say, a firewall. So antivirus and firewalls protect your software from most solution derivative based attacks. So if they're looking at getting into a specific program, you can set firewalls up to only allow certain items to come into your system without authorization, or you can set them up to come through. And the antivirus is going to scan those files, especially the ones for known systems. They're going to be looking at file sizes and file types and for intrusive information. Now, a virus protection system by itself doesn't work. You're going to want to make sure you have spamware and malware protection as well. So find one of those items that has a suite and protect yourself from all of it. There's a lot of good ones, but make sure you choose ones that are vetted and true. So do your research on those and make sure you get really good ones. I use Kaspersky personally, but I've used Mozilla. I've used not Mozilla. McAfee. I've used Norton. There's a bunch of them that I've used. But again, whichever one you use. The other one is use a strong password management tool. Now, the one that you have in your phone is okay, but the problem with the one that you have on your phone is a software engineer and a hardware engineer could bust into your phone if they steal your phone, and in just minutes, they could isolate your information and have your passwords for whatever you have stored on it. So it's okay to have them on there, but again, if you're gonna have a really good one, again, use a password manager that has some sort of, 10, 15, 16-bit encryption. Now you're gonna wanna have the 16-bit encryption because you wanna make sure that even if they can access it without the key, they won't be able to open it. Now, again, I already told you which one I utilize. It's the same thing, so all my passwords are protected through that. But in keeping your passwords, one of the easiest things to do is make sure that you mix complex letter structures and number structures and symbol structures. Make sure you understand the platform and what is and what isn't allowed. Some only allow upper and lowercase, some allow you to add numbers, some allow you to add the special characters. The more secure excuse me, the more secure sites allow you to add like ampersands or at signs or whatever. And that's great, but don't use the same password all the time. That's a really bad thing to do. And you definitely don't want to be utilizing things like your kid's birthday or your bank pin or something that can be easily construed, your anniversary date, your wife or your husband's birthday. Don't be utilizing those commonplace things. Now, there's a lot of strategies out there for doing something, but I want to warn you against one that's quite frequently used. And this is one that I've seen people in the industry, and we had intrusion preventionists come in and talk to us about this. If you've ever watched TED Talks, go check out the TED Talks. TED Talks are amazing for looking at some of these items. But what you want to avoid is coming up with something like, let's say that I really love basketball and doing something like the letter capital letter I heart lowercase bb. I love basketball. Because if people know what your hobbies are through looking at your social media, you post pictures, you make comments, you do stuff like that, they're gonna run those basic items in in a search algorithm. And so they'll look at some of the basic things. I love basketball. I love golf. I love, spend time with my kids. Those kind of things. Now, people are like, well, there's too many of them, right? Using limericks and stuff like that as your password. Be really careful of doing that kind of stuff. Think of something that's going to be easy and to understand. But do me a favor, don't be putting sticky notes on your computer screen, or don't be sticking your passwords under your keyboard, because those are the first places that people are going to look to find it. Definitely don't keep it in eye view. Don't take pictures of your desktop area with it. Some of the basic things that you're going to want to avoid and pay attention to. All right. Now here's one that's really, really, really important that I want everybody to understand. And that is two-factor or multi-factor authentication. Now, this is one that a lot of people get wrong, and it's so easy to get wrong because it's so easy to do. Multi-factor authentication, for those of you who don't know, I'm going to move the mic, so if it changes the audio, I apologize. Multi-factor authentication is that I go into my phone and I put in my password. And then the password says, how do you want me to secondary validate that? Do you want to do a facial recognition? Do you want to do the thumbprint? Do you want to send an email? Do you want me to send it through SMS text? Do you want me to send it through telephone? And what I would tell you is don't use email and or SMS. Now, sometimes you don't have a choice with email, because email is going to be one of those things, or sometimes you don't have SMS opportunity because they require you to get a text message for a code, and that's fine. But if you use SMS text and if you use email, ensure that you click the telephone call, because then what's going to happen is that telephone call is going to come through and you have to have access to both. If you just do two-factor authentication by use of your password and your email, if they have access to your email, your stuff is compromised. If they have access to your cell phone, like if they've actually got in and they've cracked it and they've duplicated your device somehow, which is a thing, and then they look at this, what can happen is that they can take your information without you even being an actor in the change of your password. So set it up to where if they do multi-factor authentication through your cell phone, make sure that if you do SMS or email that you have them call you, and then you enter that PIN or you enter that passcode. That way, you'll make sure that you safeguard and you cover yourself from that. The next thing that I want to talk about is spear phishing, wells, or just regular spear phishing, or well scams. Now, well scams are on the big end. Now, we're going to talk about that when my guest comes up. But phishing and spear phishing are targeted approaches that they use a scheme to attempt to pose as someone or something that you know in order to trick the recipient into giving them important information or access to something or sending them money. The scary thing about this particular item is this is why the average person is a target, even in large scale, whether it be individual, whether it be business, whether it be corporate, or whether it be governmental. The individual actor is the person who's the target. And the reason is that most breaches, and we'll show, I think I got my graphic, but most breaches happen not on purpose, but because of spillage, as in somebody relays or shares information that they shouldn't. We see this with PII and security breaches where, you'll get a contractor that works for the government, or you'll have an individual business takes a laptop home and somebody steals their laptop from their car. When they stop at the grocery store, they leave their laptop bag in the car. Somebody busts out the window with their elbow, reaches in, grab it. That's spillage, right? They got information. They didn't intend for that to happen. It just happened. Or somebody emails a list of names for a specific contract at one of your companies, and it has all this relevant business information, and somebody has access to their email and they're able to get that. Again, another area of spillage. But spear phishing, the scary part about spear phishing is that with the new advent of AI, they can take your image, your voice, create AI programming to make it sound like you're in jeopardy, you're in need, because you can change the tone, you can change the excited or sad or angry or happy, and they can target members of your family utilizing your voice and your image. So be very careful with making sure where you share information. But again, if you get something via email or you get a telephone call from somebody, it's not the right number. Man, it sure sounds like it's your dad. Give it just a minute. Say, hey, hey, you're not calling me from your normal number. Is everything okay? Let me call mom, or let me call my aunt, or let me call whatever. Get that information, because again, if they're not calling from a normal number or a number that comes up as potential scam, a lot of that times that happens on your phone, right? You're going to want to make sure you validate and check that, because the use of AI, the use of some of the technologies that are out there are really making it difficult for some of us. All right, backing up your data. So this is where I'm going to ask my special guest. Hey, Coin Crew, thanks for coming in. This is where I'm going to ask my special guest to come on up really quick, because I want to talk about this intrusion, this cybersecurity thing. So if you still have that link, if you can click on that link, come on up, I'll let you in and we can talk a little bit about what's going on. We'll give it just a moment to jump into the stream. So, for those of you who aren't, yeah, see, Doug, that's a really good thing. Um, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, hey, what's going on with this, whatever, and why are we got to do all these safe words and stuff? But it's actually a really good thing to create code words when you're in duress. And so that's a really, really good idea. All right. Well, guess what? What's up, bud?
Is the mic working?
Mike is working just well. I'm going to move mine
Beautiful.
a little bit louder so I can hear you a little better. Go ahead. Let's do that again. Can everybody hear him okay?
Does that sound good?
I hear you loud and clear, brother. So, for those of you who don't know, this is EMR Coins, and EMR Coins just went through, let's just say, hell,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's
That's
been
that's
bad.
there's really not a better word for it, is there?
No, it put a complete stop to everything.
Uh, can you turn your mic up? Some of the people say it's a little low.
How about I
Papa
get
York, that is
closer?
EMR. That's exactly who this is. And so, some of you, if you've attended Ida's morning show, you've heard this story. If not, uh, actually, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to turn it over to you. And why don't you go ahead and just enlighten people as to what you went through? And this way, you don't have to worry about me asking things I'm not supposed to ask you.
Okay. Um, how's that sound?
Sound great, bud. Sound good to me.
So 2 Tuesdays ago, I was driving to work. Boss calls me. He says everything's down. Don't worry about going in. I'll update you later. But I was already 10 minutes from work, so I went in anyway. Um, I work for a subsidiary of a very large company that makes agricultural equipment. They're based in Germany, and the entire system was ransom hacked. And Tuesday morning, they had tried to hook into a laptop local here where I work, and within 3 minutes, everything was completely encrypted. So
So,
all of our systems were down.
real quick, before you go on, so for those of you who don't know what ransom hack is or ransomware, Ransomware is where somebody gains access to your system and encrypts your entire network in order for you to have no access. The only way for you to have access, there's twofold approach. Number one, you wipe your systems, back up your history, and restore and go on. Or you do what's not advised and you pay uh, the fee.
14 million.
Yep. So we'll talk about the price of that because it's unreal. Um, but you pay your quote unquote ransom, and then they may or may not release it. So I just, for people who aren't really sure what ransomware is or what ransom hacking is, I just wanted to make sure that they understood the premise of that. Most people should know, but there's a lot of people who may not fully understand. So anyway, go ahead and continue. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. I'm not real. I don't have a whole ton of details. They're being pretty hush hush about it. The main thing they think happened, they've traced it back to one of the subsidiaries in Finland. It had been on one of the computers there for months, and they activated it last Tuesday morning. The hackers activated it last Tuesday morning, and it started spreading throughout the whole world. I mean, this system is China, Russia, Finland, Germany, it's all over. One thing that was good that happened is our main brand, our main owner, they had a power outage at the exact same time. And what happened, I guess, is the hackers were thinking that they were being caught and they backed off. But where I work here in the States was completely hit. They got everything.
Yeah.
We've
And
had,
so this is,
go ahead.
well, again, and you and I have talked about this. This is something that I don't deal with this in particularly with my business, but I've worked in and around enough people. I shouldn't say I worked in people. I've worked with and around people that do this as a daily basis. We talk about this all the time. We have biannual training that's required on this. So this is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. But when you understand what he just indicated, that they were fortunate in that a system failure prevented them from getting in deeper. Um, a lot of people don't understand how fortunate that was
Yeah.
because as severe as it already was, it could have been way worse, like way, way worse.
And it would have spread so much farther.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, you said something that is really important for people if they didn't catch this is that it had been on their system for quite some time.
Right.
So, one thing that I want to go to is one of the reasons when you talk about ransomware, we talk about backups. Okay. So, there are a couple things that you need to think about when you're doing your backups. So, I do what's called the 321. Have you ever heard the 321?
I have not.
Okay. So, the 321 is that you make three backups. Two of them stay on your local system.
Mm.
One of them gets stored on like an external drive or a hard state drive that is separate of it. And then the other one goes into, and I say this old jokingly, zip drives or things like that, some sort of
Yeah.
external media
Tape
that you,
drives.
you, yeah, exactly. You plug in your machine, you run your update, you unplug it. It's never connected to your machine. And then you have your virtual update. That's the last one. And that's the one that's done in the cloud, can be easily done. It gets scanned when it goes up, it gets scanned when you reload it. But you should always have three backups, right? Two local to you and one secure. Now, the ones that you keep local, keep in a safe place. So you want to keep them in a secure fire safe. But the last one, you want to make sure it's stored off site. And the reason for that is if anybody ever gets to your home or gets to your place of business or you get robbed or whatever it might be, you always have a good, reliable backup off-site to get back to your data. So, for instance, on your telephone, right, you do your iCloud backups, right? You back it up if you have Apple, then Apple has the cloud storage unit that you can do backups through some of your Kaepernick or your Norton. Some of your VPN suites have the ability for you to back up your data and send there where it's encrypted while it's being uploaded, and it gets encrypted when it comes back down. They have scanning systems and stuff like that that you can implement and utilize, but utilize a backup structure. Now, here's the thing, just be aware that your backup could have this stuff on it from months and months and months and months ago. So, whenever you update your system, like let's say you buy a new computer or you get a new phone, do a backup and name it something totally different, something bare bones baseline. Copy your photos, copy whatever it might be. Now, remember, the ransomware, the malware that I talked about earlier could be in a photo, it could be in a video that you downloaded, it could be an Adobe PDF file. So, make a backup of your system prior to all of this. Now, it's more difficult for you as a business, but if you update your server systems or whatnot, have a team come through to do intrusion prevention, have them really check it. There's some companies that do this for everybody. So you want to make sure that you set yourself up for the best possible success. But if you're doing, and I'm going to talk specifically about the phone, the moment you get it, everything is good, everything is square, you're happy with it, you've downloaded the apps that you want. Before you restore your version of it onto your phone, make a backup, call it something different. And that is always your restore point. It saves you a lot of effort, saves you a lot of work. Um, but again, computers are a little bit different. But again, always make a backup when you get a new system and then keep that one separate from everything. That's the one that you want to keep offsite. Okay. That's the good, solid one with your data and with your other backups. You can keep them on. But when you have an intrusion, they will figure out what file it is. That's when you load on a device that's not connected to anything, no internet, no web, no nothing. It's not connected through your router. There's no Wi Fi connection, no nothing. Remove the files that are affected, have it scanned again. Once you've seen those, all those things are clear, then you can restore. But never restore from a recent backup if you've had a virus or malware or something like that. More likely, it's been on your system for a little while, and you're just restoring the problem back to your system.
And that's exactly what's going on now.
Yeah.
Um, they originally got 15, 20 computers back up, and they are systematically going through every bit of everything
Yeah.
trying to find it. And if they can't find it, they can't restore yet. Um, our main backup has been unencrypted, restored, whatever, by a company in Ohio or somewhere. The problem, the mistake that IT made is our tape drives, they did not disconnect from the system when they were adding or backing up to the tape drives. And the tape drives, I mean, we had everything, all three. They had all three in place, and all three were encrypted. So we're waiting for them to get through everything. And the biggest fear is somebody's going to have a thumb drive in their pocket when we get back up and running and go, oh, I don't want to lose all that work I did, and stick that thumb drive in there. And we're going to be right back to square one.
Well, see, you couldn't have came at a better point because this is something that when I worked for the military, we weren't allowed to use thumb drives. We weren't allowed to connect our phones, even to charge them to our government systems. So you can take no recording and or storage device and connect that to the device because that wasn't allowed. It would immediately trip security, and you would be notified that you have implemented a security violation, and it would hammer you. Now, obviously, when I was working for the Air Force at that time frame, it was a little bit different because, uh, well, it is what it is. But those same style of security implementation, those same precautions, you can implement now, maybe at a lesser degree if you're personal, but as a business, man, you should have all those things into place. And unfortunately, in your situation, these are hard lessons learned,
Yeah.
right? Like having your backup system disconnected. And when you get ready to run your backup, you connect your backup system, you run your backup, you disconnect. Because and a lot of people say, well, you need your backup system connected to your network. So if you ever have to restore a file, no, no.
Bad
If you
idea.
have to restore a file, you go to your network team, they pull the file, they put it on the machine and they restore it. Right. They shouldn't be interconnected because again, if they have access to one and the other, then what's your backup good for? It's not. It's not. That's why you want to have one off-site. So you always want to make sure that's done. So can you talk a little bit about some of the lessons learned? And again, being very clear that there's a lot of information that cannot be discussed. Can you share some of the lessons learned and some of the issues that you guys faced through this process?
Well, one of the things, everybody always made fun of me for being old fashioned and having paper. And it was the only thing that's kept us running. Having a paper backup and being able to get that implemented back in to keep systems running and going. Our IT department has learned a lot of lessons on things to do and not to do, and small things that a lot of people don't pay attention to led to big problems. Like right now, the thumb drives, you mentioned the thumb
Yeah,
drives.
yeah,
They were issuing out thumb drives. We were trying to just get, say, from my computer to the printer. We were having to go via thumb drive, and it was amazing how many people have thumb drives and are just going to plug all their stuff back in after. And I'm like, whoa, back up, people. Do you not see where we're at?
yeah. How many people realize that it may not be on your work machine, it may be on your personal machine?
Right.
And what people don't understand, and this is where I was trying to explain earlier, if you don't think that you're a target, you're fooling yourself. They may not want your personal stuff. If they look at my finances, they're not going to go, "Oh man, I need Frosty's bank account," because they're probably going, "That I probably should deposit money into his account." That poor sack.
Right.
But they may want information or access to what I have information or access to in my professional career. So my system at home or my system in phone are absolutely targets. And you may not want to believe that. You may not want to think that you can get an email from grandma, but it's not from grandma. If your grandma doesn't send you a bunch of cutesy flower, cutesy cat pictures, and all of a sudden you start getting emails from her about cutesy cat pictures, "Hey grandma, how you doing? Oh, I just was worried about you. Have you been sending me pictures about cats?" "No, I didn't think so." "Okay, just got an email from you. Wanted to make sure it was okay."
Verify.
If you don't if something is out of whack, don't do it. This happened with my ex-wife. Her dad got an email from me at work, opened it up, and when it was some bad stuff. Let's just put it that way. And he immediately called me and started ripping down my backside. Had his security manager inside. I said, "Well, do me a favor." Security manager's like, "What?" I said, "Read me the email address." And he read me the email address. And I said, "Give me your email address." And I sent him my email. And he's like, "Oh, it's not the same email." I said, "That's not from me. They just used my name." They probably got into his computer, found a list of resources, added my name to that spam, that spear phishing email, and sent it. Now, the images that came up on his screen got him in trouble at work, and they understood what it was and rectified it, knew he wasn't trying to do whatever. But if there had been something like what you're tied to, that spear phishing or even your malware, done. And it became because he thought he knew something or he thought it came from somebody. But I asked him the question after the fact. It's like, "Sir, when have I ever sent you a work to email? Never. How do I get a hold of you if there's something wrong with my daughter or your granddaughter, or if I hear of an accident or something regarding my ex? How do I get a hold of you?" Through text messaging. Okay, so my normal behavior was not email and not to your work. So why did you why did you open it? Right? But it's wasn't it you who sent me, man, I sure wish I could send somebody in monster box of ASEs. Um, but yeah, it's these little things that catch us all the time. Now, actually, Steve, he's joking with this, but we see this all the time in our community. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to step back away from cyber and I'm going to talk about security within our realm of stacking. Okay. Now, how does stacking or collecting, how does this equate? Well, you'll see in a discussion that I have in the Premier Train that the relationship between stacking and finances or your collecting and your finances is a real thing. You should treat that relationship like you do the relationship with your kids or your business professional relationship or your networks. You're not going to give personal information to one of these bullion companies if you know they're acting nefariously. You're not going to spend $50 an ounce for some silver just because they told you that it's a special series, or would you? Right? This is why we do education. This is why we do training. This is why we talk about these particular things. How many people, I'll say real quick, is oh, where did he go? Doug. Is Doug still here? Doug, did you stick around? So Doug is brand new to the channel. Doug doesn't know me from Adam, right? So why at the very onset of this should he trust me? I don't know. I don't see Doug in chat anymore. But why should the new guy who popped in and said, "Hi, I'm new here." Why should he trust me? He doesn't know me from Adam. He doesn't know anything about me. So what is it that I could do or what is it that I could say that would benefit? Well, it could be the fact that there's 30 some odd people in chat or there's, X number of likes. I don't have hundreds of people in the chat. I don't have a great big channel. What tells him that he can trust me? Hey, there he is. Thanks, Doug. What tells him that he can trust me? Nothing. There's no relationship. There's nothing there. So why do you trust an email or why do you trust an advertisement from a company? Why would you act on something? Well, that peace dollar better be a 20 or 1921 or a 1928. Um, but why would you trust anybody who sent you something like that without validating it, verifying it? Why would you not go to somebody and ask and validate? Do the same thing with your emails. It doesn't matter if it comes from family. It doesn't matter if that message comes from your daughter. Hey, dad, check this out. This is really cool. Oh, hold on. Send an instant message. Hey, I need to know what it is. And don't send it via the same program because if it's a hacker, they already have the information. Send a text message. Hey, did you just send me something? Yeah. What was it? Oh, it was a really cool picture of, me and you, and I animated it. Oh, okay. I want to make sure. I didn't know what it was. Oh, no problem. It's not a big deal, but it becomes a big deal if you open it and they didn't send it. So, how does this tie into stacking? How many do financial work on their phones? How many of you access your banking records or safety deposit information or have a PO box where your contract, your billing information, and stuff is available? How many people store passwords on their phone or their computer? How many people keep a laundry list of their business contacts or share business emails with their personal emails? If you say yes to any one of these, then you really need to be paying attention to what's going on. Put some of those items in place. Or as EMR can tell you, how long did it take you guys? A couple weeks of 18, 20-hour days?
Yeah, we're still working on it. We are just barely limping along, keeping people working until the Christmas break. Now, most of the production is gone on Christmas break, and we are still hoping to have the systems back from Ohio and back by the second. And we're not sure we're going to hit that. So, a month?
So, in case people forgot or didn't hear this, can you reiterate the dollar amount that they wanted?
14 million.
I don't know about you all,
That's
but
whale fishing.
say again.
I said that's whale fishing.
That's whale, right? This is a whale attack. This is not spearfishing or just a fishing attempt. This is what they call a whale attempt. Okay, you're talking about millions of dollars. Now, again, if this were to happen on my personal machine, it may be a $1,500 thing. And I would be like, I'm going to blur out my finger, okay? Because I don't have anything on my machine, even my photos. Yeah, it would suck to lose some of my photos, but no, not playing that game. Now, there are a lot of people that have a lot of information on there that they could not lose. So you need to think about if you get stuck in that situation, what would you do? Personally, I would just, you know, F disk, F disk C, format my drive and be done with it, right? The little jumpers you can jump on your motherboard to reset your BIOS and stuff like that. Clear your BIOS, reset the system, wipe it out, go buy a new solid state drive, plug it into your machine, get some good encryption software, protect yourself. I definitely wouldn't pay it. There's nothing on there that is that important for me. And I've been a victim of identity theft. I've had people, matter of fact, for those of you that knew I went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, somebody got my information in Tulsa and tried to spend $67,000. I can tell you kind of where it came from. There's only two places where they could have got my information. Um, but so it happens. Now, it took me a few weeks. There's a couple people in chat that actually know about that situation. Okay. Oh, Doug, that's a really good question. How can you personally scan for ransomware? So I'm going to throw this one over to you. Okay. How does your company scan for it?
For us,
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know. They're secretive about what they are doing and have done in the past. So I think they scan it weekly.
Me, you're an idiot. Why would they want your identity? You're ugly.
Hmm.
They weren't going after my looks, dude. I promise you that. They weren't going after my looks. Um, there's a couple different ways. So again, and I understand why the company is going specific because you don't want people knowing what your strategies are. And that is an extremely important thing to understand. You do not want people understanding all the implementations that you have to protect your security. Okay. Copperell's like, it wasn't me in Tulsa. I only met you there. It didn't actually happen at the coin show. I think it's actually an actor from the hotel because of some of the issues that we had upon check in. We actually had to put down more information so that we could get in. And I think somebody got that information. I think they probably threw it in the trash. Somebody saw it, accessed it, and took it. I think it came from the hotel. But you don't want actors, you don't want people knowing what safeguards you have in place. And this is why a multi pronged approach is there. So, the first thing you want to do is set your firewall up and set your antivirus and have your malware. Um, Trojans, things like that can sit on a system for a long time before they become enacted. So, have a good system to scan. Now, as companies like Norton, McAfee, Kapernaski, um, there's a whole bunch of other ones that can be utilized. As they identify these things, as some of these things come out, then they're able to identify what they are and they provide updates. So, updating your stuff to make sure that you have the information in place, um, software, right? Making sure all those protections in place. But if you have a really good virus protection system and firewall protection system that checks for malware, that checks for Trojans, that checks for some of those other kind of impromptu spear phishing cyber based items, a lot of that stuff is going to be quarantined naturally. Now, when you get your quarantine report's going to tell you what files are affected. It's going to ask you if you want to clean it. In some cases, you can restore. All right, hold it real quick, just to break. Paula, we love you. If there's anything that we can do, reach out to us and let us know. We'll be praying for your grandbaby. We hope that she continues to improve. Again, folks, please keep Paula and her grandbaby and Paula's daughter in your prayers. Paula's son in her prayers to make sure that they can get through this. For those of you that don't know, her granddaughter is in a pediatric hospital who was unresponsive. She's now responsive. She's doing a little bit better, but she's going to be going back to the hospital to make sure she's okay. So again, prayers to Paula. I've got my prayer chain. I've called moms in the church and everybody, and have that whole lineup going. So um, just anyway, let you know we love you. If there's anything that we can do, then we'll keep informed. Please send me messages periodically, and then I'll post stuff and make comments, so on and so forth, so people know. But we love you, my friend, and looking forward to seeing your smiling face back online. All right, sorry. Precedence calls for we have a member of our community who's hurting, so have to make sure that we target that first. But anyway, Doug, to go back to it, make sure you have a good virus protection software. Make sure that stuff is in place. Make sure it stays up to date, and then a lot of times it'll be done. Now, if you think you've been compromised, there's a couple things that you can do to prevent yourself from being compromised when you're looking at emails. Number one, and I'm going to try and pull up. Got to do this without sharing my information. So give me just a minute, and I'm going to see if I can pull this up without sharing my information. Because what you can do is you can go through, and I won't share my screen if any of my information comes up. I'll try and pull this up, but there are. Looks good. Hold on. Told you two-factor authentication is not good. So whenever I log into my email, I get a telephone call and I have to enter my password and stuff in there. All right, so let's see. Where is where's my spam folder? Let's go ahead and open up one of these. Let's see if I can find one of the packaging shipping notification. All right, so let me see if I can do this. So hold on just a second. Okay, so I'm going to let me take a screen capture of this because it's not going to allow me to do this. So hold on just a second. Third and final notice. Let me highlight this. I apologize for that just a second, but I want to make sure that this information is not here. So one thing that you're going to want to do, just kind of block this out, is do not enable live preview of your emails. Turn live preview off. That is something that you do not want on. You want to make sure that it doesn't show up. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. Just a second. Entire screen. And that's fine. So I can share this. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. It took me a little while. So let me see if I can't make this a little bit bigger. It's not allowing me to make it any bigger, but you can't see this very well. But what it says, third notice package pending. Now I've got this to where it doesn't show the images. It doesn't show whatever. But when you get an email of this kind, one thing that you're not going to get from United Parcel Service or USPS or Federal Express or DHL is you're not going to get an email message that is an image. There may be images in your email address, but it won't actually be an image. It'll be text. There may be some code, there'll be a standard format, but it's not going to be an image. And this is why you do not auto show your emails. So what I have here, and if you look at this, it's dstartdiddlebland at cafelivehoodcanechain.com. Who the hell business is going to be sending me something from this address? Nobody. Number one. So you're going to want to look at this. So turn off this right here. Okay. Turn that off. You don't want that on. Don't do live previews. Okay. Don't do it. It's bad for you. Okay. If there's something embedded into the code of this image, it'll automatically enact if I embed this. Don't do it. Okay. The next thing is the sense of urgency. Final notice, it's pending. You got to do this, right? So they apply their pressure to you. It's supposed to get a reaction. I say this all the time: act, don't react, act. Take a minute, take a deep breath. Okay. You'll see this through the series that I'm doing, right? Take a moment, slow down, think about what you're seeing, think about what you're doing, think critically before you act. Okay. And act, don't react. Second thing is if you don't know the email, you don't know the email, don't trust it. Okay. If you get a picture like this from somebody that you know, so let's say that my wife sends me a picture. Hey, your package, I just got notice about your package. And I go to pull this up and it says show images. Am I going to open this? Hell no, because my wife's not going to send me a picture of an email that she's got. She's going to forward me the email. So again, there are little things to look at, little nuances to pay attention to ensure that these kind of things don't happen. But if you don't watch for them, these little things, even if it comes from somebody you think you know, if you don't watch for them, these are the things that can come up and bite you. This is most likely how the intrusion became with EMR's company. Something simple like this that somebody opened up, they may or may not have noticed it. during, or immediately after, right? Be very, very careful. Okay. Uh Tiger Stack wrote the 4.99 super chat. Thank you so much for that, Tiger. I appreciate you. Live preview. So I can't show you how to do that live because it'll give you all my information. So I don't want to do that. But what I'll do is I will do a short where I walk you through that. Or if you want me to show you personally, I can connect with you and I can show you. But in your settings, you can see where you do your view. Live preview allows you to open a pane that allows you to see the information in there. A lot of people do this by default, but you can turn it off. You always want to make sure that's exactly right, Papa York. You always want to do your preview prior to opening the email. Now, in some cases, if it's an image and it has a Trojan, things like that. No, what is an explanation? I'm not tracking you, Tiger. You're going to have to clarify. Azure Blue, that's another one. Yes, I'm a Nigerian princess and I need TREE, thousand, TOUSAN dollars. Yeah, right. Grammatical spelling is a huge one. If you notice issues within the grammatics, like horrible, right? Then that's usually a sign that you're not getting something that's viable. Without offering too much or kind of posing too many, if I ask you a question you know that you can't answer, then you can just say, I can't answer that. Does the company have an idea of where it came from?
There's been a couple of rumors. One was China. Um, Another one was South America,
Do
but
they
I don't
know?
have a for sure.
Do you know the access point? Do they know kind of who pulled it up?
Yeah, the small subsidiary in Finland, little tiny place. I think there's 25, 30 people work there, and it was through an email, and they think it's been on there for 8 months, waiting
Yeah.
to be spread and activated.
And again, folks, I'm not a doomsday prepper. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I like to take hard looks at stuff and give you the best information that I know how to. And I am not an expert when it comes to cybersecurity, but I do take huge focus in it, partially because of what I do as a profession. But I've had my identity stolen and I've had to recover and I've had to pay thousands of dollars to recover monies that were lost or to clear my name of certain things. I've had to work with credit bureaus and stuff like that. So it's not a fun thing. Now, it's nowhere near on the level of what he had to go through from a business standpoint. But again, if anybody here doesn't think that they are potential actors in a cyber attack, that they are targets in a cyber attack. Now, when I say a potential actor, that doesn't mean you're voluntarily doing it. You can be an actor unwillingly.
You're a pass through.
Mhm. That's exactly right. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to take the information that was coming out of the recent cyber attacks to take a minute and say, protect your collection, protect your stack, protect your finances, but more so, protect the sanctity of your family. Put things in place, right? Your kids may not like it, but put requirements on your phone. Put your scanner, put software, put VPN, put stuff on there that prevents certain things from being accessed. Right? Your kids are going to find a way. I tell you, kids are brilliant. You actually ask your kid, kid probably could tell you more about how people access systems than you know. They're smart with this. This is second nature for them. It's intuitive for them. So talk to the kids about potential ways that they can do that. Make it a challenge, right? Hey, if you can come up with I'm going to write down all the ways I know how people can gain access to your stuff. If you can come up with two that I haven't written down, I'll take you to that, go get you that Subway that you wanted, or I'll take you to go get you some ice cream or something like that. And have them brainstorm ways that you may miss. It's a fun game and they get a win-win out of it, right? So make it a family affair. Make it something that they understand. Talk to your spouse about this kind of stuff. Because again, it won't happen to you until it happens to you. And I just want to make sure that you all are safeguarded. I don't want anybody here to have to sell their stack or have to sell their collection or lose the electronic piece. God forbid that somebody gets your Bitcoin or your uh, bit currency, your cybersecurity access, your passcode, and wipes your bank out, right? So a little bit of protection goes a long way. So why did I talk about this? Well, because it's important. And as I've told you guys before, I'm going to share with you information that is relevant to your safety, that is relevant to stacking or collecting. I want to teach you things that are going to help you be smarter in acting and prevent some situations. Now, I can't, again, I'm not the cyber dude. I can't tell you exactly what's going on. But what about that collection? Oh, well, sometimes those things happen. Do you guys know the story behind that? The gold that was lost in a boating accident?
I do.
I love that story. If you don't know that story, then you need to watch some other people in the channel and learn about that story. All right. Well, hey, bud, I appreciate you coming up, sharing the story,
Sure thing.
talking a little bit. The reason that I wanted EMR to come up is, folks, he's a pillar in our community. Many of you know EMR. You see him in the streams, and when I tell you that this stuff is real and it's serious and it happens, we got it right here. This happens in our community, right? All of us are targeted. All of us have the potential of being that pass through, that gate, an unwilling actor in something cyber. So again, implement some of the strategies. If you want to know more, if you guys want to continue conversations or do more stuff about this type, tell me. Put it in your comments. Post something on my community tab. If you guys hear about something that you guys think is interesting, now EMR sent me one just before the stream. Let me pull that up real quick regarding um,
Yeah, sorry that was a little late. I didn't think about it at time.
the Idaho situation. No, it's okay. Do you want to go over that one real quick? We got just a couple more minutes.
I don't know much more than what I sent
Government-based
you.
entity, local company, government contract.
Yeah,
But again,
the INL
how do they gain access
um,
to it?
through an email, through an
Through an
email
email.
on an employee site. Yep, and they actually
Yep.
went after. They specifically targeted and held for ransom, the way I understand it, the employee's information.
Yeah.
Now,
And so,
go ahead.
no, please.
Well, there's a lot of theories about why they're doing that. Um, but this is one of the major nuclear test areas in the country. You can't tell me they were just after employee information and money. They're practicing.
Here's here's something, and I'm going to wrap up with this. This is going to be my final thought before I say goodbye and thank everybody for coming in. And again, folks, I appreciate the support of the channel. I appreciate you all coming in and supporting me on these weekend live streams and watching the content. But I want to leave you guys with one question. Who has access to some of the most important systems in your company that most people wouldn't even have a second thought to looking at or questioning? Okay. Who in your company has access to systems? Now they may not have access to all the high critical pieces of information. The number one person that people will look to get are your facilities teams. They have access to all the rooms, passcodes, right? Whenever, and it's always a joke. IT support, yep, IT guy. Man, if you were in IT, yeah. But your facilities, your janitors, your cleaners, your housekeepers, they have access to the papers that are left on people's desks. They have access to the trash cans, all the stuff that gets thrown away. An actor can be some of the lowest level people in your company, and finances, family issues overseas, all those things can be major players in security. So enact and safeguard your stuff. Don't throw mail away, just throwing it away. Shred it, send it to a burn center because there's a lot of little things that people will go, they will dig through your trash to get your information. And be careful what you put on social media, but don't underestimate the importance of protecting your stuff to the very smallest nth, because the people that you think they would never be targeted, they would never be considered. Those are the exact people that those aggressors are looking for because they think they're out of sight, out of mind. And this is why protecting your email, don't cross business email with your personal email. That's a great way. Don't access your personal email from your work, right? That's a great way to sabotage without you're an unwilling actor. So just put some things in place to safeguard yourself. And I want you guys to do it for safety and for protection. But again, I don't want anybody to have to sell their stack or sell their coin because they have to cover losses or lose their job because they enacted a security breach. Or God forbid that you disclose PII on somebody, identifiable information, or PHI, personal health information, on somebody, and they file a grievance against you because you breached personal data. Some of the fines that go with that are steep. So protect yourself. Be smart. Think about what you're doing. Be aware. Be alert. And yeah, safeguard your stack. All right, folks. Well, hey, bud, EMR, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. I know it was kind of last minute, but I was like, dude, with what I'm doing and what's going on, I can't think of anybody better to share the panel with. So thank you so much for coming up. I appreciate you doing that. We've kind of talked about doing something anyway.
We have.
Um,
I appreciate it.
Sorry that you guys are going through that. Hopefully that everything is resolved and you're able to um, get a hold of that. Yeah,
I'd like everybody to stop and think, can you get by 2 weeks without having any electronics? What can you pay for 2 weeks? Do you have enough food? I mean, simple things.
yeah.
You never think it'll happen this close to home. It does.
And you're proof. You're proof. Now, fortunately, you guys had some stuff in place that you were able to do it. But if this hits your personal finances, what are you going to do if you don't get paid for a couple weeks or you don't have access to money?
Well,
How are you going to
uh,
do it? What are you going to do? Right.
I don't keep anything bank on my phone. I don't keep anything in the bank unless it's paying bills, and just don't.
So we can talk a lot about that stuff. I know there's a lot of preppers out there that understand this kind of stuff more so than myself. I'm getting smarter on it, but I'm not smart on it. Um, Prepping is what I do for each meal.
Yeah,
So
the onions.
yeah, and I do that all the time. We had an emergency last night because we ran out of onions, and so we had to go borrow one from a neighbor. So, but no, I mean, and it really is a great question. So, if you guys want to have more discussions like this, let me know. If some of you guys are really adept to it, and we find that there's a need, I'll be reaching out to you. And so, just like I did with EMR. So, again, thank you so much for coming up, ladies and gentlemen. If I can have one of my mods throw a Will's Treasures link in the chat. We have the premiere train here in just a few moments. I'm going to give everybody time to go top off their coffee, go use the restroom, say hi to their significant other, pet their dog or cat, and then get back to their phone or computer so we can do this. But again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being a part of my Saturday morning. I do love and appreciate you all. And again, EMR, thanks, brother. I definitely appreciate you. Thanks for coming up and doing that. Um, your generosity to come up on panel and share the situations and stuff that you've been through was really great. So thank you so much. On a final note, pray for Paula. Keep her grandchild in your prayers. Pray for their parents so that they can have peace. For the doctors to provide good evaluation, good treatment, know what they need to do, and I'll keep you guys updated as I hear more. All right. We'll see you over at Will's Treasures in about 10 minutes. Love and appreciate you all. Be well, be blessed, and we'll see you in the streams.